most important thing is we don't have to use proper English. I'm not advocating having grammatical errors, but you don't have to say, I am responsible for, I was responsible for. Resumes are all about action verbs. So at your current company, what you're going to do is figure out what's the verb that relates to what you do. So if you're in technical sales support, systems engineer, pre-sales, Mark, I think that's what you still do. You put supporting the sales of what? What are your technologies? And even if you work at a name brand company, don't assume that they know exactly what you sell. And please stay away from proprietary language. I just got a resume from a guy at Symantec who sold endpoint something, but he knew the language, he knew the lingo, and I've been in this 20 years. I didn't know that acronym. I didn't know exactly what he was talking. Break it down. Maybe you're having an HR person look at it. Break it down simply and don't assume people know what your acronyms mean. Break them out, then put the acronym, and if you're talking about a technology, put it in plain English, okay? Selling. Selling what? Here's the types of technology I sell. To whom? It's just one sentence. I sell this to, here's my territory, the government, the US, international, the DOD, whatever it is. So that's one sentence that lays the groundwork, and here's what I do. And after that, we move into bullets. And we move into bullets because they're much easier for our clients to read. We don't want long, verbose paragraphs. They'll never read them. Too much rhetoric. Stick to the facts. Get down to the detail level. What are bullets? What are the sentences that we're going to put in our bullets? Let me break it down simple for you. Bullets equal bragging. Toot your horn. I'm not so much I was responsible for this. I was responsible for that. That's great that you get all these responsibilities, but you might not have accomplished anything. What did you get done? That's the key. If you don't have a lot, at least figure out what you can talk about, the truth always, and a positive spin to it. But put in the facts. So what kind of verbs do you use in your bullets? These are the verbs. Closed. Won, W-O-N. Grew. Built. Developed. Ranked. Those are the bullets that you put in there. And then you put in content. You put in percentages of quota tied in with dollars. If the percentage of quota is not fantastic that year, your quota is 4 million and you only sold 2 million, well, maybe you don't put in that I was 50% of quota and brag about that. But maybe you could say I grew it from 1 million to 2 million. And maybe, even though I was only at $2 million, I was the number 2 rep out of 10 on the team. So put that in there. Positive spins, but always the truth. And when you go in on the interview, always stick to the truth. Deals that you've won. Competitive wins. Who you beat. Nothing wrong with that. You might be interviewing with that competitor. They're not going to get upset that you beat them. They're going to want to bring you on their team so you can win for them. Customer names. As long as it's not proprietary, put it in. Sizes of the deals. Put them in. The more content that we get in this resume about track record, turf knowledge, and technology knowledge, the more the interview is going to go where you really want to take it, so they're not spending the whole interview staring at your resume. You take the interview to the personal chemistry with the person that you're interviewing with, and that's how you close it. So if we could get all the basic facts out of the way that are going to get them excited and put that in the resume, it's a better chance of nailing the interview. That's the goal of our resume, and it's a better chance when you're in the interview to focus on chemistry with the person. Mark?
I have one question about the chronology. How long, if you're sort of a senior person, like, or old, I don't know how you want to describe it, how far back do you want to go in your chronology? Do you want to go all the way back to your college graduation, or do you want to go back, you know, the 10 relevant years or 8 relevant years that you've been selling IT?
Well, first of all, if you ask 10 people advice on resumes, you'll get 10 different pieces of advice. But I'm going to give you my advice, and I think it has some validity, and I have the experience in the field to go along with it. I like to know the whole story. Even if you spend less time on the earlier days, when I interview a person, I start from the beginning, okay? So I ask you, where are you from? Where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go? And take me through it, because I want to understand the whole person.
Right.
And that's what I believe in. And I think you should put it now. Do you have to put stuff from 25 years ago, every detail for, 8 inches of real estate on the resume? No. But I would at least put it in where you were, what you accomplished, and keep it lighter in the earlier days and heavier on the recent. The concern is the age discrimination.
Right.
And I appreciate that because that's real. That happens out there. At the end of the day, they're going to meet you anyway.
Right.
So if they want a 5-year out of college person, I think they're going to figure that out.
Right.
And I'd rather just tell the whole story. That's
And
where I feel about
then
it.
the sort of the second part of the same question is, along with doing that, I mean, is there any drop dead length? I mean, if it's over 2 pages, it's too long.
Well, first of all, people get very dogmatic about that too, and it's like, it must be on one page. So I have people shrinking the font where you can't read it, and spreading it out to the edge of the page where it's really ugly. 2, 3 pages is fine.
Right.
If you're going 4, 5, 6, it's a book and you're not really doing it. But what I'm going to talk about here, if I move on a little bit, I'm going to tell you about putting in a lot of content and do the creative phase first, and put it in, don't worry about the length at the beginning, and then we figure it out, how to cut it back. But 2, 3 pages is fine. If it gets to 4, 5, 6, like some consultants have, because they keep on adding on, it doesn't make sense. But if you try to squeeze it all in 1 page, and you're not like, a 4-year rookie, you want to tell your story.
Right.
Mark? Sorry.
Yes, I have a question. So I often hear from people who are conducting searches who've had an initial interview, but then, gee whiz, what happens? It seems like they go into a black hole, so they've had an initial screen, or maybe even a first interview. What advice do you have for people to follow up? So a lot of people seem to be concerned, well, gee whiz, Mark, I want to ring their phone off the hook, but nobody's getting back to me. So we hear that from interactions with recruiters as well as with hiring managers and the firms.
Well,
so what advice do you have for them for that?
If they get back to us, we're going to get back to you right away. Sometimes we have that issue, but you have that less with the recruiter because that's what we're doing all day. He's pounding the manager for the feedback and figuring out if we're going to make it happen or not make it happen. But one of the things I'll recommend is that I think we need to go after this, and this is what we're going to talk about next, is go after the interview and go after the job as you would be going after $1 million, 7-figure deal. Because frankly, what is the job opportunity? It's a 7-figure deal.